What's up, DFF Army? Been a minute, but back again, here to do another mock draft review. The Dynasty Underdog Discord got together again. If you guys don't know, I have a podcast called Dynasty Underdog. We have a Discord. I'll throw the link in the description on YouTube. You guys can hop in there. It's free. Jump in. I threw out a mock draft link and got a bunch of our members to join in, and we did a 10-team Superflex tight end premium mock draft. So I want to review it. This is probably the last pre-draft mock we're going to do. So I think it'll be some good insight. And then we'll be doing, obviously, our drafts, our real drafts. A couple of them start right after. Our Dynasty Underdog Listener League start right after. It'll be on MFL, so it'll look a little different, but I will do some reviews on those as well. And so you'll get a good idea of what you'll see in your real drafts as well as your mock drafts. So you'll see the different impacts pre and post draft. I won't make you listen to me any longer. With that said, let's jump into the draft board. Alrighty, again, here we have a 4-round 10-team Superflex tight end premium mock draft, and we'll just jump right into it. So first pick, no surprise, Bijan Robinson. This mock, if you go back and look at the other one we did, the next couple picks are definitely different than the other mock we did. So I do like that. This mock draft was done this past week, so I think it's much more indicative of what we'll see going forward and post-draft. Next couple picks here, Superflex, so no surprise. We have Bryce Young at 1.02, CJ Stroud 1.03, Anthony Richardson 1.04. And I think this is probably the right order for these quarterbacks to be going in. If you want to go Richardson over Stroud, I actually definitely understand that with the upside. And, it just kind of depends on your risk tolerance, right? JSN at 1.5, I dig it. Definitely the safest positional asset outside of Bijan Robinson, right? 106, I don't love the Jordan Addison pick. Jordan Addison's a fine player. I think he'll probably be fantasy relevant at some level, but it's not his size for me. It's more that he can't really beat press coverage, even with his sophisticated route running. So, that's just kind of a red flag for me going into the NFL. That said, I do think he'll be a productive player. Zach Charbonnet at 107. I don't hate the pick by my boy Uriah, my podcast host here. I don't hate that pick, but I do kind of think Will Levis, who I took at 1.08, should have probably been the pick at 1.06, right, over Addison and Charbonnet. The reason I say that is because I just don't think we should fade QBs any longer. And we actually had a discussion in the chat while we were going through here. I was like, stop fading QBs. And the conversation was essentially like, do we really care about fading Will Levis? And I'm like, well, you would have said the same thing about Justin Herbert the year that everybody faded him as well. And I'm not saying Levis is Herbert, but back then nobody would have said Herbert is Herbert, right? So I think that there is some risk involved in just letting these guys slide. That's why I decided to take Levis at 1.08, even though I love guys like Flowers, right, who I think are going to be really fantasy relevant as well. But the upside of a guy like Will Levis, who after doing my review on him, my film review, I'm not high on him by any means, but I don't think that the issues are necessarily between the ears and that he can't really read defenses and whatnot. I think that he could develop under the right circumstances. So willing to kind of take the shot. Jahmyr Gibbs at 109. Can't knock anybody for doing it. I think I'd rather take Zay Flowers here. I really think that there's a lot of risk that goes into Jahmyr Gibbs. If he ends up in a situation like going to the Kansas City Chiefs and he's the number one running back off the board for some wild reason, right? Which is probably not going to happen. But if he goes in the first round or something like that, he's going to shoot up the boards. And I've talked about it before, the sub 200 stuff. You really got to be around 210. Whatever. He could totally overcome that. But I prefer not taking the risk. But at 109, I can't knock you, like I said. So I get it. Zay Flowers at 110. Steal. I think Zay Flowers is going to just continue to be slept on, even if he gets the draft capital. So, do what you will with that. If you don't like him, I can't really convince you or force you to, other than just sending you over to watch the film room I did for him at Dynasty Football Factory's YouTube page. If you want to see some dynamic route running and after the catchability, go ahead and watch that. It's just absolutely awesome content. Tyjae Spears at 2.01. Little shocked here. I think it's a little high. I think the draft is going to fix that for everybody. I don't think he's going to get the draft capital everybody wants. So that is a little high for me. Hendon Hooker at 2.02. After watching this kid, I like him a lot. So in Superflex, given the right situation, I'm not going to knock you for that. I don't know if the draft is going to tell us that we need to select him this high at 2.02. But Josh Goldberg, my other co-host on Dynasty Underdog, listen, got your conviction, go for it. I don't think I could take Hendon Hooker over guys like Quentin Johnston or Josh Downs right now. Maybe the draft, maybe he gets first round draft capital and that just completely blows that out of the water. Then yeah, this is a great pick. But Quentin Johnston at 2.03, he's going to have to go higher in drafts. I don't know. This seems like a steal to me here at 2.03 in a 12-team league. This is in a 12-team league. This is still the second round, which is kind of absurd. Josh Downs at 2.04, pretty good value there. I like that. Jalen Hyatt 2.05, not a huge fan. Really, I just let him slide. I'm not going to be drafting any Jalen Hyatt personally. I don't think his game translates necessarily. I think there's much better values everywhere, and a bunch of guys in this range I'd rather have. Like a Michael Mayer, I think at 2.06, this is definitely just letting him get too far, or far enough, maybe not too far, but at 2.06, worth just grabbing him, sitting him on your taxi squad, and letting him develop. Devin Achane, 2.07. I dig this. This is probably a good range for Devin Achane. I don't know if he's going to get the draft capital that some of us would like because he's super dynamic and he's a really fun player to watch. I don't know if the NFL is going to buy in because, again, similar to Jahmyr Gibbs, he has the weight concerns, the size concerns. And, yeah, that's something that we're going to have to factor in, even if we like him. So I can't boost him up when I'm knocking Gibbs. So I think this is probably a good range for Devin Achane. Marvin Mims, 2.08. I love this for me. I got him here. I think that he could go a bit higher post NFL draft. So come May 1st, I think we'll see him at the top of the second as long as he gets good draft capital. As long as he gets second round draft capital, probably. I think that's what we're looking for. Keyshawn Butte at 2.09. I don't love it. He's going to have to get second round draft capital, maybe third to even sniff this range. Man, just everything that I saw from him on film, I'm just not a big fan of. Maybe it was all post-injury. He just didn't have the dynamic ability anymore, but I didn't really see that dynamic of a player even pre-injury, even though he was a bit faster and showed some more burst, but still not a huge fan. Zach Evans at 210. I'm not a huge Zach Evans guy, but look, it's the end of the second. If you like him, if he gets the right landing spot, he gets the right draft capital, it could be okay. Dalton Kincaid, 3.01. Pretty surprised that these tight ends are falling this far in a tight end premium draft. I think that, this is definitely not going to show up post draft in your real rookie drafts. I saw him go in the first round of a 12-team Superflex mock draft that we did for dynastyfootballfactory.com. And if you want to go check that out, we actually wrote all those picks up and gave you our thoughts on those each individually. And I think that was really an interesting draft because you saw a lot of tight ends go a lot earlier than I'd be willing to do, I'd be comfortable with, and then you're seeing here. So definitely it just depends on your specific league market. It really does. This is not going to be something I think with the tight ends that's going to be consistent across all leagues. Darnell Washington at 3.02. Again, I think you could see him going a little bit earlier in your real rookie drafts, especially if he gets first, second round draft capital. Tank Bigsby at 3.03. This has got to be as late as I've seen him. The market is kind of all over the place on Bigsby. He's kind of a polarizing player, but I do think that this is a bit too late. I don't think he'll make it this far, and definitely great value here. Sean Tucker also, we're hearing some health concerns about him. Hopefully he's going to be okay. Really, really pulling for the guy because I think he's a really fun player to watch, and obviously you want these guys to fulfill their dreams. So shout out Sean Tucker. Hopefully all the medicals work out and we don't have to worry about that. 3.04. I think if that's the case, he is a steal there. Israel Abanikanda seemingly becoming a steal in this range. I'm not the biggest fan of him as a player, but with the speed and the testing, and if he gets the right draft capital and the right landing spot, definitely a guy who I could see perfect for the third round and could be a little bit of a riser. Cedric Tillman at 3.06. I like it a lot. Think that he could be a riser as well. I like him way more at 3.06 here than Jalen Hyatt at 2.05. So beware of that discrepancy. Kendre Miller, not a big fan myself, but he's a value in this range no matter how you slice it, right? Deuce Vaughn, also love him in this range. I really, really, really like the running backs at the end of the third round here. I'm not sure how it's going to shake out if they'll be here in real rookie drafts, but love the Deuce Vaughn, Chase Brown, Roshan Johnson here, 3.08, 3.09, 310. I snagged Deuce Vaughn, smaller guy, good BMI. I think that he has the right build to be successful in the NFL at some level. I don't know if he's going to be a every down guy, a big play guy, but I think he can get into a fantasy relevant role and is worth a shot late in the third and going into the fourth. You could probably get him too. Chase Brown out of Illinois, I think he's slept on. I think he's actually a much better running back than people give him credit for. So 3.09, I probably should be picking him over Deuce Vaughn, to be honest with you. I like him there at 309. 310, Roshan Johnson, also a guy who probably should have been picked before Kendre Miller or Banakanda. I think he might have a little bit more NFL staying power. He's more built that way. He's more ready for the NFL. So Roshan Johnson at 310 is a great pick. Rasheed Rice, 4.1. I know a lot of people like him at SMU. I'm not a big fan myself, so I don't have too much good to say about him. But in the 4th round, take your shots, I guess, right? Evan Hall, Josh, good pick here. I like Evan Hall. He's a good player. I think that he's going to be slept on totally. I think that he's going to be a guy who probably can creep into the 3rd round, but in the 4th round, absolute steal. Luke Musgrave, I mean, whatever. I'm not a big fan. I would much rather Sam Laporta, who went 4.10, than Luke Musgrave at 4.3. Tank Dell, 4.4. Take your shots on Tank Dell at this point. We talked about him on Dynasty Underdog on the podcast. I think this guy's a stud. I know the size concerns are there, but if anybody can do it, this guy can, because he is an exceptional route runner. So love Tank Dell here at 4.04. Jonathan Mingo, 4.05. He's getting some buzz. This is a good place for him to get selected for sure. Not much risk here, and definitely has a lot of upside. Tyler Scott, Jake taking my guy. Tyler Scott's a really good player out of Cincinnati. I think he has some upside if he gets in the right situation, like, a Pittsburgh situation where they develop receivers. I mean, we're going to all fall in love with this guy. Trust me. Clayton Tune, Uriah, I get it. I hear he's getting some buzz. I see some people liking him. Quarterback. Maybe we got to do a little more research on the quarterbacks, Clayton Tune and Aiden O'Connell's and whatnot. See if there's a sleeper in there like a Bailey Zappi who could gain some value. But I think there's just some other guys I'd rather take in this range and maybe try to get them off waivers, like the Clayton Tunes and stuff. Charlie Jones, my guy right here, 4.08. Y'all are all going to be mad and look back and be like, why are we letting him get Charlie Jones at 4.08 in the mocks? This guy is going to go earlier in the NFL draft than everybody is expecting, and he's going to be a really good NFL player. There's just no two ways about it, and he should not be falling to the 4th round. Only reason I'm letting him do it is because I know nobody else is going to select him there at this moment, but I doubt that's going to happen once he gets better draft capital than everybody is expecting. Xavier Hutchinson, 4.09. He's a guy who I don't hate, so I dig this pick here. There's a good deal of players, I think, on the board who could be picked in this range. So it's definitely a deeper draft. There's going to be some guys on waivers. Sam Laporta at 4.10, like I said, probably over Luke Musgrave for me. So I think it's a great pick at the end of the draft. I doubt he makes it there in a tight end premium. I think we'll see even more tight ends get selected in tight end premium. But there are so many guys who you're going to want to go and look for on waivers after this draft. It's just going to be absolutely insane. There's a lot of guys who aren't going to be selected in the 4 rounds. So keep an eye on the content coming out of dynastyfootballfactory.com. We'll be releasing draft profiles on all of the relevant fantasy players. And also we will do some sleeper articles and deeper dives to touch on some of the guys who aren't necessarily in the first 4 rounds, to make sure that you're totally prepared for post-draft and you can dive into those waivers and really get the guys that are going to matter. Looking at this draft, I'm not sure who I would say had the best draft. I do think that I had a pretty good draft with Levis, Mims, Vaughn, and Charlie Jones, but definitely I can admit with Vaughn and Charlie Jones, it falls off a little bit there. I think I really like the 1.04 pick here with Anthony Richardson, Josh Downs, Sean Tucker, and Tank Dell. I think that's a really good squad. I think also Matty J has a pretty good shot at this too, with CJ Stroud, Quentin Johnston, Tank Bigsby. But if he'd selected maybe Sam Laporta there, he would have probably smashed this draft for me. Musgrave is kind of ruining it for me, but I do really like his draft. I think that's a good draft. There's some good ones here. Really appreciate all of the people who participated in the mock drafts. These are super fun. Everybody has a lot of energy going into them. So if anybody wants to hop into these, definitely jump in the Dynasty Underdog Discord. We also do some mock drafts with our members at dynastyfootballfactory.com. If you want to join that Discord, please become an annual member at dynastyfootballfactory.com. Hope you guys enjoyed the review of this 10-team Superflex Tight End Premium mock draft. I enjoyed doing it, and I will catch you next time.